What is going on with silver? To anyone who is like, oh, the bubble burst, it's over, there's a couple of things that I want to share with you. Bear with me. So first, I want to show you this graph right here. So gray is the COMEX price, the one that you see in Western markets, the $72 per ounce. Blue is the Shanghai exchange in Asia. All right, we can see that in the first drop right here, we can see that the gray line, the futures market, the COMEX futures market, went to 85-ish, 80. But the Shanghai exchange futures market stayed above 100. Now it's dropping down further. We'll see, we're going to talk about that. So what happened in futures market, in the COMEX, in the Western futures market, is exactly what happened back in 2022 with energy. The same day this drop happened, JP Morgan closed their short positions on silver. And what this is not, oh, the bubble popped. It just shows you the arbitrage of people moving from the COMEX, which is mainly futures market, to the actual silver markets in Asia, where the premiums jumped to 30 to 40% after the initial drop, which means that the future price might be 72 or 80 on the graph I showed you before, 90, 85 or whatever, but the actual silver price did not drop that much. If you try to sell scrap silver, it is still around $100. And scrap silver is only about 90% silver. And the price of scrap silver or 90% silver is higher than the price of actual silver. That doesn't make sense. And when something doesn't make sense, somebody is lying. So now you see massive arbitrage, and here is the plan. Just like back in 2022, what they did with energy, the plan has multiple steps. So when precious metals go up because of the bad economy, which is in the shitter, and a falling dollar, the government needs you to invest into stocks or dollar-related assets, which keep the dollar afloat, not into non-dollar denominated assets. That way, you can keep the inflation on paper artificially low and keep the dollar afloat. So this step is designed for you to go back and invest into dollars and hold dollars. Not gold and silver, but dollars. The next step is some form of price controls. How do I know this? Because of basic economics. And what proves that, which is evidence for the first steps being made for that, is this right here. So a rare earth stock jump after Trump launched a $12 billion critical mineral stockpile. So that means that exports and imports of precious metals will be limited. So there will be some sort of limit, maybe tariffs, I don't know, but some sort of limit on production in the US and exchanging production from outside the US. So there will be a separation of the Asian markets, which have spot prices for silver, actual spot price for silver, and the Western markets, which are just paper contracts worth nothing. And that's designed to stop that arbitrage, because why on earth would you try to buy silver in the Western markets and pay 30-40% premium, or pay more, any amount more than for what you would get in the Shanghai market for the actual silver? Remember what happened with nickel a few years back, when it turned out that all these nickel future contracts were just bags of rocks without actual nickel, and then all these nickel investors lost all their money because the courts voted against them to protect the nickel market, or the COMEX, the same market that crashed silver and precious metals right now. Anyway, so step one, pull everyone into the dollar, back into buying dollars, hold dollars, keep dollar price afloat. Artificially lower inflation, on paper by keeping energy and the energy low and the dollar high, and minerals and silver and gold prices low. Step two is to do some sort of soft export bans or limit export and import of these minerals. And that brings us to step three. So now you have all these, like under normal circumstances, all these miners, you would see silver prices go up. You would see investments into all these miners, which are starved of investments anyway in the US, and they will start mining, increase supply, and then that will pull down the price naturally. But since they can't do that because they can't make money, they're not allowed to make money with the silver they're mining, because prices of these commodities are pulled down artificially. And to not make these companies go bankrupt, what governments usually do, or the government does, the US government, is they help them behind the back. They subsidize these industries to keep them alive. So subsidize plus an export ban, what will that lead to? So that would lead to a soft nationalization of that industry. We have these companies that will be forced to mine because only American companies can now sell that product they produce in America, but they were not gonna make a big profit because prices are artificially low. So it will be some sort of soft nationalization of these industries. And because you don't allow economics to work naturally, you will have shortages for critical commodities. And that will lead for those prices to go back up. So I'm not saying that the price increase we saw in like 13 trading sessions, going to reaching almost 140 was normal. That was a bit over enthusiastic. But prices for precious metals, the thesis is still the same. These are future prices, all right? Your physical silver is not gonna lose value, okay? Which is why I stayed out of futures markets, which is why I told you, like, especially after what happened in 2022, to stay out of futures market. The rigged casino. I'm not playing that game. So I loaded up, even before that, I loaded up on physical silver and physical precious metals, which are not in a bubble, and that bubble did not pop. And before I forget, okay, I don't know when this will happen. I don't know the timeline. I can't time the market, okay? It could be next week. It could be next year, all right? Probably sooner than later, but I just don't know when. Just based on what is happening, based on what I'm seeing, based on economics and what I know, that's what's going to happen step by step. But when, in what timelines, I don't know. And I'm also not saying, oh, go ahead and go all into miners right now. Okay? Do your own research. I'm not an expert on miners at all. Okay? Do your own research, due diligence, and make a decision for yourself like an adult.